Hello, good morning. Just had a minute here alone in the house. So I just thought I'd make this video. So there was a conversation that came up this morning as a result of a few things. And it's to do with like sexual allegations of sexual abuse in certain circles. Um, I was researching this morning about yoga because I'm fascinated by yoga. There's a lot to it. I was really just researching Ashtanga yoga, but also the founder of that is this guy. I don't know. It's like Patab Jois or something like that. Anyways, and so just yeah, I don't know how to say it. Unfortunately, just like that Bikram guy, some people they got really big in this world, and there's a lot to it, and like famous, and they it seems like they did things that were inappropriate. I mean, at least they were certainly accused of this stuff. A bunch of people came forward and said and told their stories about these things that happened, right? And so it's pretty, I for myself, it can almost be somewhat discouraging. It's like, oh, do I really want to practice something like that? I've been learning this primary series. It's really hard yoga. It's like advanced yoga. There's anyways. And so, just because of, just the fact that the person who, the founder just didn't have, I don't know. It seems, yeah, did things that were not okay, right? I mean, just to put it in really light words, right? Because you have to be careful with that kind of stuff. Because, like, everything that I read is secondhand knowledge, and I can't prove anything. But when a lot of people come forward and say this, and other people say, yeah, we kind of saw this going on but didn't know what to do, then yeah, it's pretty I don't know, unnerving. I don't know if that's a word, but to see that kind of stuff goes on because there's something so beautiful. I mean, like, yoga is a wonderful practice about strengthening the body and the mind, and living like to your greatest, to your fullest extent, to really understand who you are and what life is all about, and to reach enlightenment, is the idea of it. All of the asana, all of the poses and stuff like that, it's all about just getting the body conditioned to a point where you can sit and meditate for a long period of time, so you can hit those deeper states of meditation and expand your conscious awareness, or I don't know if it's the right term, but for what it's worth. So it's just like, it's yeah, it's a little disturbing to hear, when you see, because there's some people who do not have their story marred by accounts of them abusing their status and the situation, and this is, yeah, so like, and that's something that you just have to live with as a person who and you might have to answer for, right? And so this is the thing, is I'm finding my own way with this, right? I've been aware of some of the stuff, certainly the Bikram, and also this Ashtanga guy, but you look into it, sometimes I look at it and I forget about it, and I look at it again, and it's like, ugh. But then, like, the same thing happened in the Christian, and other yogis as well. People who are, in one sense, revered, and then in another sense, it's like, don't know, questionable. There's certainly questions there. Um, yeah. And so, and it also happened within Christianity, as most people know. There is a dark and twisted history of priests and things like that abusing altar boys, and I'm sure altar girls as well, and all kinds of stuff. It's twisted, right? And so we're talking about this morning about how does one reconcile all of this, because it's like, just because a, a person went and did some things which are inappropriate, it doesn't mean that the entire philosophy is flawed. But something is going on which doesn't make sense, right? I mean, like, nothing happens for no reasons. And so I think, in talking about it, it's like, because some of these guys, so in like India, there is this a brotherhood. I don't know if it's brother and sisterhood, but a brotherhood, for what it's worth, called the Swami Order. And these are the guys that you see wearing the orange robes and stuff like that. I mean, it traces back to like a very old this guy Adi Shankara anyways. And so it it's been around for a very long time, and one of the things is continence. It's like about body control, and also not like a vow of celibacy to enter into this order. And the same thing with becoming a monk or a nun or something like that in a Christian sense there, right? And so the issue is, there's people coming home. And so I have a room. And so the issue is that, what do you call it? People get involved in these organizations, which I don't know if the word is promise, but they certainly, a part of it is, getting that spiritual knowledge, that, what do you call it? People who are after truth and knowledge about life and about trying to understand that, that word God, right? And stuff. So, but it's like, so I have a guru, and Paramahansa Yogananda, and his lineage does not suffer from these types of accusations, because, so I was saying, like, this morning in this conversation, it's like this, he followed this spiritual path and became a Swami against all, I won't say against all odds, right? Because clearly it's what happened. But like he was not encouraged by his parents completely, certainly not his father. His mother, I think, may have, but against ridicule from other family members, and certainly from what do you call it? From different quote unquote authorities and things like that. And so, it's like, but he always knew that it was for him. He has faith in the whole, in what he was doing. He knew that that's what he wanted. It didn't come from outside, and this is the important part, is that it, if you're going to be involved in something like that, it has to come from within. It can't be as a result of any kind of external motivation, certainly pressure, like whether it could be from uh, your parents or society, or something that you just think is cool, or it can't be, from, say, like, your social, like, if you were brought up in a setting where people are religious in a sense, and so then you become a part of that, but maybe that's not you, but you have to be a part of it because it's part of, like, the ideals, that's a part of the way of life that everybody is accustomed to, and you are essentially expected to adopt this way of being as well. But that's the thing, is that not everybody's ready to walk a spiritual path where they decide for themselves that it's more important to focus all of their energy on spiritual pursuits and love for the divine, getting to know the Father and the Mother, the divine, and about oneness, in a much more profound way than a lot of other people are interested. Some people, that's just not their forte. It's not what they're after in life. They don't have this draw towards that. They don't, and so that's the thing, it's tricky. And I think that, yeah, and that's where the problem is, because, like, if you're not there, like, essentially mentally, spiritually, like on a soul level, in your heart, if you're not there, you can't just walk that path and, like, half do it, because it's like a very serious endeavor to be, to undertake. And I would just take a guess, like, there's a reason why the guru, the lineage, the fellowship that I'm a part of, that's why he attained self-realization. He's very well known for having done this. And so, yeah. And if you're not there, you're, because that's the thing, is that you will run into problems, because you essentially have to then deny who you are. I don't know if it's like your nature, right? You have to, and that doesn't work. Like, the path that I follow, actually, like, they do not recommend that people become nuns or monks or swamis or whatever. They teach about a more practical yogi, like a common, how do you call it? Like, just like a person who practices the tenets of yoga, but also has a wife or a husband and children. A worldly yoga is what is taught by the teachers that I look up to, because I do have a guru, and the people, that's what they teach. If monkhood or sisterhood is for you, that's very special, very rare, and it should never be as a result of anybody else's desire. It should only be your desire or earnest wish to pursue that. You have to do what you're doing for the right reason, like in anything in life, and especially something as potentially volatile as, denying who you are. Like, you can't just be something that you're not. And yeah, what am I trying to say? Just, yeah. They say it's a thing, I mean, sort of, it's along the same lines, but same sort of topic. It's like, they say in life, it's like a lot of people in schools, like, oh, you can be anything that you want. It's like, you can, but it doesn't mean that you should. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. I mean, if you're not particularly suited for something, and then if you then pursue a path for some reason which is not your own, you're not, and like something that comes from within, not from without. If you pursue something, then and then you get other people involved, you can lead. I don't know, I just feel like people who do things for the right reason, they can, what they say, the blind can't lead the blind. And so, yeah, you just have to be really careful if you're gonna do something that isn't you. I mean, and then other people get caught up with you and what you're doing. It creates an issue because those people could have gotten caught up with somebody who did it for the right reason, who actually that is their, the reason that they're here. That's why they feel that they have come to earth, to be a part of that, and to, yeah. So it's a tricky thing with this whole spiritual, I put this thing there, with this whole spiritual, what do you call it, community, I guess. I mean, there is a lot of, I can only speak from my own experience, but I've met more phonies, more pseudo intellectuals, more people who don't give credit where credit is due, it goes to their heads, and just like, then people who are really genuine, people who are super genuine. It's like, and then the people who, yeah, if you are super genuine, it doesn't sit very well with people who are not, because, without going into that, right? But yeah, it attracts a lot of people for a lot of reasons. And it's like, you can become a yoga instructor. You just pay a couple $1,000s. There's all these schools, and they'll just take your money and they'll do this thing, and then you say, oh, I'm a yoga instructor, and it's like, I don't know. I just don't believe, I don't believe in leading people to barking up the wrong tree, or, I mean, the blind can't lead the blind. It's why, like, there's a type of yoga that I would like to study, and it's called Dharma yoga. And you have to be a vegetarian transitioning to vegan, because that's, if you know anything about yoga, it's in like yama, niyama, and then asana. So, and in that is ahimsa, non-violence. I mean, you cannot be murdering animals and be walking a spiritual path. I mean, the two are just incompatible. So, yeah, and I went to this, I was going to go to a yoga, do my yoga teacher training in Mexico. When I was down there, I went to this school in the Baja, and they served meat. And I was just like, no, red flag right there. I don't want anything to do with you. And this other school that I want to go to in New York, you have to have 50 classes of instruction with them before you can, or 50 hours before you can before you can take the training. So it's like, there's prerequisites. It's not just for everybody. It's a serious thing, especially if you're going to be a teacher where you're going to be guiding people. Yeah, because you can do harm, you can do damage to people, especially if you get to some place where you're like, revered, and then you abuse that power. You screw people up psychologically. Sexual abuse and things like that. it came up because of this term that I learned about. It's called digital abuse. And I was like, digital? Like, because we always think like computers, but it means digits. It means if you digital rape, if you put your fingers or toes in places where they're not welcome in other people, it's called digital rape. And yeah, just, yeah, really, yeah, it's a subject. I don't know. And, it came up, and it's disturbing. But then when you look at it, it's just like, so, okay, all that said and done, I still consider myself a yogi. I mean, that the people who have done stuff like that, they bring shame, on themselves, and same thing with Christianity, like people did things, but man, it doesn't mean like the teachings of Jesus or Krishna, are any less relevant, or there's not truth there and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I am hesitant to say it's a shame that some of these schools of teaching have been seriously, like, makes you question the whole thing just because certain individuals did terrible stuff that they never should have. But and that's the whole point of this video, is just that don't do something that you're not ready to do. You can't just become a monk. You have to be there. Don't just become a yogi and teach. If you're not there, if it's not in your heart, if it's not what you're ready to do, if you don't, I don't do something else. Find something else that's more you. I don't like to give advice, but it's like, that's what I would say if somebody asked me, like, should I become? It's like, if you even need to ask, then you need to think about that. I have known my whole life that I am essentially seeking enlightenment in one form or another. I've always been attracted to this. I cannot see anything more attractive than this idea that you can become so in tune with who you are and what you're a part of that you gain, like, it just changes everything, right? I mean, and that's not from anywhere else. I don't know anybody else who feels like that. Like, I've never met anybody else who feels like that. Even all the spiritual people that I've met. That's why I pursue this path. I do this for myself, but at the same time recognizing that a lot of the things that I learn along the way are of use to others. And I have a way with words. I'm reasonably decent at putting things into words because I spend so much time sometimes talking about them with other people, but also just figuring it out for myself. Like, even just like the word God, I have spent so much time and have gone down so many avenues and written about it extensively just to be able to say that word with confidence. Because if you don't really understand what it means, it can, you should be able to explain it very succinctly, in a very small space. If you need like a mouthful, or if you avoid it, be like, oh, you can't describe that. It's like, I mean, it's also describing the undescribable, something that is so very large, right? But, to put it into context, certainly when you're reading certain teachings of people who seems to have an understanding of what that means, then you're reading it and it's like it does something to you when we all handle that word a little bit differently. Right now, when I read the word God, I typically substitute in the two words the Father. And right now, where I'm at, that helps as I'm developing my understanding of it. Because yeah, and I understand it in a few other ways to do with like the one and the all. The one doesn't know itself, but the all knows itself. There's two aspects of the same thing, which is oneness, but there's two sides to it, a light and a dark. And then with the all, which is the world of light, it's like there is, what is it, in order to know yourself there has to be an other. And so that's why, so then you have two, so you have separation but also distortion when the truth is one, but there's an experience of two and three and on and on and on. So there's a few ways to wrap your mind around what is being talked about with that kind of stuff, but that's a totally different topic anyways. Yeah, be who you are. That was the point of this. Don't try to be something that you're not. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Look inside, don't look anywhere else. That's all I would say.